What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Doll Benfica Podcast, episode number 417. My name is Alfredo. Here we are every week, bringing you the latest on Benfica. With me tonight, Dave de Oliveira. What's happening, Dave?
Nothing much, Alfredo. Great to be back on. Going to do a little bit of August recap. Good August for us. So good. It's going to be a good show tonight here.
Absolutely. So on the menu, we're going to recap the Tondela game. We're going to also look at the Champions League draw, which happened this past Thursday. Look back at an August, Dave, that was almost perfect, but yet we can't complain. Some records being set there, as you will have a chance to mention in your stats. And we'll look ahead to September. We got an international break. The team will not step on the pitch again until the 14th of September, and that will be the match day one for the Champions League. So we'll look at a September that's going to be a lot less hectic than the August that we've had. Dave, how you feeling, man? You feeling good? You feeling good about this August?
I mean, you can't, like you said, it was almost perfect. Just that little draw there against PSV, but other than that, I take that as a positive, right? It could have been a lot worse, right? We've seen August and starts the season in recent past that hasn't been as good as this one. So I'll definitely take this August.
That's right. So Benfica, after that that improper game for cardiac patients against PSV, Benfica returned to Estádio da Luz to face Tondela, a team that has only won one game out of the three. And of course, after the PSV game, where your heart got a little bit of a scare, Tondela wasn't. Tondela wasn't much different, but let's start at the beginning. I'll give you the lineup. Jorge Jesus made 7 changes from the PSV game. Vlaco Dimos in goal, Almeida, Veríssimo, Vertonghen, and Grimaldo with the return to the four defender setup. Maite and João Mário in the middle. Pizzi and Everton on the wings. Darwin was the solo forward. Obviously, Dave, we found out that Tarabt was suspended 23 days in, was it 5 games? 23 days in 5 games.
I thought I had only seen that it was only 2 games because the international break cuts into that suspension. But good to see that the Portuguese Soccer Federation is on top of their duties there. I think this happened last May, if I'm not mistaken, and they only decided to hand out a punishment a cool 3-4 months later. So good to see that the federation is on board for player safety.
It's always a little bit of a crapshoot. You never know when those punishments are going to come out, and the timing is always a timing that just it begs a lot of questions. But that's always been with the Portuguese Federation. I mean, they can't. This is the league. They can't schedule games on time. They schedule games in the Algarve at 3:00 in the afternoon in the middle of August. So they got the shit together, as always. But
this happened so long ago that I had even forgot about the whole incident. And then the article came and I was like, oh, yeah, Tarab did slap or punch somebody and he got his eye poked or something. I thought that was seasons ago. I thought we were watching games from years ago. But that only happened in May. But like we said, the federation's on the ball here.
Yeah, but look, it took for me to look at the picture that was along with the article, the news article, for me to even remember, it was against Braga months and months ago that he had like a little shove match with Eduardo, if I'm not mistaken. What about the punishment for Eduardo? Did that come out? Or
that'll be given out in February. And then don't worry, then there'll be suspension. They'll go to the arbitrator to see if they can get the suspension revoked or reduced. Right? Don't worry, it's a whole game that you played there.
Yeah, much like the Palhinha one. If you recall, Palhinha got a supposed 5th appealed against it. It was taken back, and it's still under the appeal, and the guy is still yet to see that 5th yellow card. Go figure. But anyway, let's get it right into this Tondela game. As I mentioned, I already gave you the 11. And look, I think that usually coming off European games where it's a different level, where there's some both emotional and physical efforts going on, it was going to be hard. I thought it was going to be hard. Also, you're looking at Tondela, who, as I mentioned, had only won one game, so maybe a little bit of a trap game for Benfica. JJ operating 7 changes, and I think that at this point, in looking at all of these changes, obviously with Otamendi getting a break, he decided to go back to the 4-4-2. But I think that there's something going on with the club in terms of all this time and all this rotation that happened in August. There was a lot of people, or even the media, and even JJ had mentioned that, we have a good core of players, but not only the core, but there's guys also that could come in. And I think that this game was perhaps the perfect example where there was a lot of players that don't usually get starting minutes coming onto this game. And really didn't perform as well as we expected them. So maybe that idea that we have a well-rounded squad with a lot of depth, it's not so accurate after all. And Benfica was just apathic, very slow. Pizzi, I think that he touched the ball 7 times in the first half, or his first 7 touches, 5 of them were wrong passes. You had an Andre Almeida that, albeit coming out of injury, is a guy that's not there yet, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I think that sometimes Andre Almeida, and I think that he still feels that because he's been at Benfica for such a long time that he has that position on lock, and that's not the case. And as a matter of fact, I think that he's got to be working a lot harder, and he's got to be showing a lot more if he is to even win a spot from Gilberto, right? And look at Dave, what we're talking here, Gilberto and Andre Almeida. Under normal circumstances, I don't know if we're having this conversation, but granted, I'll give the benefit of the doubt to Andre Almeida. But Gilberto really made quite an impression here for me, and we'll get into that. But yeah, slow first half. Tondela comes down to Benfica's goal, gets on the board. Benfica goes into the locker room. Something had to change. JJ operated 3 changes right at the half. Gilberto, Rafa, and Weigl coming in for Almeida, Pizzi, and Maite. And by the way, Maite, I don't know, man. If I wasn't sold on him before, I don't know how I'm feeling about him after watching this game. Dave? I
think it's still him still trying to get used with the players and the team. His first showing, I was impressed. Last couple of showings that he's been on there, hasn't had the best of time there. But again, when you rotate a squad and you rotate 7 out of the 11 players, it's going to take a lot of the guys getting used to playing with each other as well, and they might not have that form or chemistry down. So I do agree to squad rotations, but it's a very slippery slope that you play with, right? You got to get that perfect balance, or else you see that we can struggle, especially in matches like this, where coming off a high from qualifying for Champions League, going home, this should be a match that Benfica wins easily 3-4-0. But when you throw squad rotation into the mix, then you get these closer games, and makes it a little bit more challenging for the supporters to watch. But like I said, that's the risk that you take when you go out there and you rotate 7 out of the 11.
No, absolutely. And look, I'm all for rotation of the squad, as you mentioned, Dave. But as you mentioned, when there's 7 changes, I mean, you could expect some kind of a drop-off. And regardless, I mean, this team has not been working together for the past 2 months. So if they don't know what they're supposed to be doing and tactical setup, so on and so and so forth. I mean, at this point, I mean, I don't know what to say, but they should be there. But yeah, second half, completely different story. Benfica came out with especially with those three guys, and then with a sense of urgency. And Benfica was just on top of Tondela. I think that I didn't see Vlaco Dimos make a save, or maybe made one save in the second half, and it was quite a good save, obviously. But the rest of the half, Benfica was just on top of Tondela. I think that possession stats were like 71% for Benfica or something like that.
75-25 it ended up finishing at the end of the match.
Yeah, something ridiculous like that. So after a couple chances, and I don't know how you felt, Dave, but I felt that Benfica was knocking. And I thought that with the level of intensity and the pace that Benfica brought to the second half, I thought that they would eventually break through. But how did you feel heading into the last 10 minutes of the game and Benfica down?
Well, last 10 minutes, Rafa had already scored by that point.
You're right.
But second half, like you said, you can tell that they were definitely working towards getting that equalizing goal and getting the go-ahead goal. They were creating opportunities. It was just a matter of getting somebody with some finish on one of the end of these balls here. And I know that you wanted to point out Mete not having the greatest of games, but again, Darwin, our golden boy here, I don't know if we want to give him the benefit of the doubt too, being one of the seven that was thrown in there, and maybe not used to some of these players, but I'm starting to lose my my patience here with Darwin. He just lacks that critical finisher that all good strikers need to have there. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, being one of the seven that were thrown in there. But you could definitely see that this squad here in the second half was creating the chances and just needed that extra finish there to get ultimately the two goals. But also wanted to give a shout out. I feel like this had the writing. If this was last season, no fans in the stadium, I think Tondela comes away with this match with the 3 points, if not the draw. But I think that playing at home with the supporters, you see that it could give that extra advantage to Benfica. And I feel like the crowd, even if it's not 100% capacity, still plays a role in these matches.
No, I definitely agree with you. In terms of Darwin, I think the Darwin benefit of the doubt for me is gone. Either you make it or you don't make it. It's either sink or swim for him, right? And it's very competitive up front for Benfica, and especially when Benfica is most likely going to play with only one forward up front. Now that Seferovic wasn't sold, and we'll talk about the transfer window a little later on, Seferovic wasn't sold. Seferovic is going to get his chances. Will he get more chances than Darwin? Most likely, he'll get more chances than Darwin. I think Yaremchuk will still be number one choice. I think Seferovic will be number two choice, but that all depends on what Yaremchuk is going to be able to bring to the table this early on. If not, Seferovic will be given a chance, and as you know, Seferovic usually takes advantage of his chances. He might miss 5 goals, but he'll net one important goal here and there, and that will keep him afloat, and that will keep him in good graces of JJ.
That's all you need, right? A broken clock is right twice a day, right? So that's our Seferovic is our broken clock here up top, and not to mention Pinho also made his debut too. Not that I saw anything special from him in this match, but first game coming back from injury for Pinho up top as well.
Yeah. No, I wanted to also. So I wanted to, and Saucy, and hello everyone in the chat, and thanks for logging in and keeping us company. But Saucy had mentioned Weigl. I thought that Weigl had a wonderful game, and I think that at this point there's no doubt about that Weigl and João Mário are the best tandem in that midfield. And at some point I did say that Maite and João Mário might be the starting tandem in the midfield, because JJ likes that physical presence of a number 6, of a guy that's more positional, of a guy that's going to destroy some game. But I think that what Weigl has brought to the game, not only for himself, but also you could see how we frees up João Mário to do a lot more. João Mário was a lot better in the second half than in the first half, and I think it's because of the freedom that Weigl allows João Mário to have. I really thought that that he really played well. There wasn't a lot to do defensively, but the things that he did defensively, he did well. But to me, the most impressive thing that he did was the fact that he kept the ball moving with pace, whether from one side, the transition one side to the other. Because when you're playing with a team that's has a low block and it's all backed into their defensive third, you need to move the ball with speed. You need to have those combinations. You need to find where your free man's going to be. You need to find where your mismatches are going to be. The 2-on-1s are going to be to the defense. And for that, you need to move the ball with pace, and you need guys to move around. And I thought that that he played really well against Weigl. You also mentioned Pinho. And I was really surprised by Pinho, to be honest with you, because what I saw from Pinho in the preseason, it didn't really leave me that confident about him. I just thought, well, he's just another guy that's going to be a fringe player, much like Gil Dias. But the one thing I liked about Pinho, and I don't know if you got a chance to see it, was the fact that every time he got the ball with his back to the goal, he was able to hold the ball, pause it, and wait for a player so that he could combine with. And I really don't see that a lot from our forwards. Seferovic doesn't do all that well. Forget about Darwin. Yaremchuk, I haven't seen enough to see if he does that. But Pinho coming in, I really thought that he did well, and it was a pleasant surprise when I saw that from Pinho. And I think that a lot of times where he got the ball with his back, he was able to hold the ball, and Benfica didn't lose possession right away, and we were able to bring numbers up front to create. So really happy with his contribution. But let's talk about the main contributor to this game, Gilberto. The ugly duckling, as JJ says. And look, we all like to crack on Gilberto. We all have our jokes on Gilberto. As a matter of fact, I made a couple jokes last week when I said two Gils don't make a right, when referring to both him and Gil Dias on as our fullbacks, as our wingbacks. But look, I think that if you're going to look at Gilberto, something that you can't point to him is that there's no lack of effort. He leaves everything on the field. He's not the most technical player. He's not your Semedo guy, right back, or he's not one more technical player, but he leaves it all. He really gives it all. And then there's a chant for Benfica that says raça, querer e ambição. And I think that when Gilberto, I think, embodied all of those three words in terms of what he puts out. And I think his ambition is really, he wants to have a spot in this team. And I think that if he keeps putting performances out like this, he may very well have a spot. I don't know. I just don't see anyone else. Now with Lázaro coming in, it's obviously a different story. But Gilberto is seeing that the position is fattening in terms of depth, and he doesn't want to be the last guy on a totem pole. He wants to be a guy that gets used off the bench or gets put in there in rotation. So he's making a case for himself. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, if you're looking at the depth chart there, just at that right back or right wing back position, you got to go with Lázaro there. I'll give him the number one spot, but at the number two, I would give.
You give him a number one spot. You haven't even seen the guy play.
I'll give him the number one spot, and we'll give Gilberto the number two spot. And then if I'm looking at Andre Almeida, I'm looking at him more as the depth chart for the center back as a replacement, and then put Diogo Gonçalves back up as more of the attacker winger there. just to provide some more depth in there, right? So I think Gilberto is still going to see a lot of minutes here going forward, even with Lazaro coming on board here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited about having a prospect of a decent right back, which we haven't had in a long time. So let's see what this Lazaro guy does. But we'll get into him in a little bit. But nonetheless, Gilberto in the 88th minute, it's always that 88 minutes, that the magical minutes for JJ in which things happen. But Gilberto, with an insistent play, was able to toe poke it past the goalkeeper and get Benfica up on a scoreboard. And Benfica wouldn't relinquish the lead there. So 2-1 was the final result for this game. And look, another game where stress. I was stressing, man. I was stressing heavy. But I did think that Benfica were on the right path to be able to do something. But I'm glad that it came that way, because it really showed the resiliency of this Benfica team. And Dave, as you mentioned, I think that especially in the second half, the first half not so much. And I had a chance to speak to somebody that was at the game, but in the first half, I think the stadium was a little bit quiet, but still, we're not very critical of the team. And in the second half, I think the team really understood, the fans really understood what the team needed in terms of motivation, coming off an extremely emotional and hard game in the Netherlands, and coming to Stadio Luge. I thought that the fans really felt that the team needed that extra push, and as you mentioned, Dave, they mentioned to the fans in the stadium and how they carried this team. And I think that half of this victory probably is very well deserved by the fans, if I'm being honest here.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, just having that positive mentality, I think really carried the team along. Where last year they didn't have that chance to feel the positive atmosphere in the stadiums. All they took away was the negative trolls on the internet and their Instagram page or their Twitter pages, right? So I'm glad to see that the fans were vocal and supportive even when they were down for majority of the game, and that positivity really pushed the team, I believe, to getting the equalizer and getting the go-ahead goal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was important. It was important for Benfica to get that win, and especially looking at this August month, Dave. It was quite an extremely busy and very important month for Benfica. Lots of stake, and not only that, he's also Benfica goes into this match knowing that Sporting had lost points and that Benfica could take over sole possession of first place. And I know it's early on in the season, but it is what it is. And being able to take sole possession of first place, I think that's extremely important. How many times did we see it last season where Benfica had a chance to go up on their direct opponents after their slip, and then Benfica couldn't do anything? But this time around, it looks like something different. But Dave, some stats on this game, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like you alluded to at the beginning, with Otamendi resting against this match, Vlaco Dimas has been the only player to play in all of Benfica's 8 matches to start the season so far. So a bit surprised that we still haven't seen Helton late given any opportunities here, especially with JJ rotating the squad. But I think that's a topic for another day there. Rafa, with his third goal of the season, puts him as Benfica's top scorer to start off the season. And Benfica scored now 14 goals through their first 8 matches, 5 of those goals coming from our defenders there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's about this August month, Dave. 8 games, incredible. And granted, perhaps the level of opponents wasn't as demanding as it should have been, especially on a domestic side. But still, two important fixtures against Spartak, in which we know it's do or die. We get past them, then we have two extremely hard and perhaps the hardest fixtures in the month of August against PSV, one at the Luzen, one in Eindhoven, in which Benfica tied. And that was probably the only negative, you want to call it a negative result of August. But extremely hard games against PSV, and Benfica was able to get it together and really get through and qualify for the Champions League. But did you expect August to go as well as it did?
No, not after the nightmare season of last season. I think I was still a bit gun shy, and you talk about the level of competition, but hey, we gotta beat who's in front of us, right? It doesn't matter if you're the Moncuj or if you're the big clubs in Portugal. We saw last year how we played against these smaller clubs and how they really put us to the test, right? So you got to give credit where credit's due. Like I said here, seven wins, one draw to open up the season. Much better performance than it was a year ago, and you just got to keep building that momentum and that positive mentality. It's going to go a long way, because we could be sitting here going the other way, right? We don't qualify for Champions League. Now there's a negative atmosphere around the teams. I'm sure all the antis would be out again, and you just got to get on that right foot, and it sets you up for hopefully a successful season at the end of May here for us.
No, look, I agree with you, Dave. I think that when you're able to carry this momentum, is not only good because you are in the spot that you're in, but mentally for the team and understanding what happened last season with everything that went on and the division that exists between Benfica fans. When you're winning, when was the last time you heard somebody criticize Rui Costa?
Man could call the election tomorrow, and I think he'd won a strong mandate, right? So...
Right. You could call an election and have Luiz Vieira as the vice president and still win it.
Don't push that luck. Come on.
No, but it's true, right? But getting back to the team, right? It was important for the club. It was important for Rui Costa. And you guys, if you guys listen to the podcast, you know I'm not a Rui Costa fan, but he's basically done what he set out to do in terms of what the expectations was that he set out. Prepare the team for the season, start the season, qualify for the Champions League, and do well throughout the month of August. And I think that so far, that's the team, it has checked all the boxes. Because in terms of start, Benfica has had an historical start. And Dave, you had a stat here. Benfica's best record to open up a season, going 7 wins, 1 draw in their first 8 games since 1983, 1984. Most of you guys weren't even alive in 1983 and 1984. But yeah, I mean, it's great, man. And after suffering all of last season, to be able to see how the team has come out this early on and be able to get their objectives and making it to the Champions League, I think it's I don't know, it's encouraging for me. Certainly for every other Benfiquista, I'm sure it is. But now comes the harsh reality of the Champions League. So the Champions League, Dave, the draw was on Thursday. And Benfica was in pot 3. So just to give some context, it was always going to be a hard draw for Benfica. And considering all the draws that we've had in the past and how we've been grouped, to what teams we've been grouped, it was always going to be an extremely hard draw, especially considering that Benfica was in pot 3. So Benfica drew Barcelona, they drew Bayern, and they drew Dynamo Kiev. So Dynamo Kiev obviously being in pot 4, Bayern being in pot one as the champion of Germany, and Barcelona obviously in pot two as they were not the champions of Spain. But Dave, what do you think about this draw?
Initial reactions, it was not a positive draw for us, but hey, if you want to be in Champions League, we got to play the best. You got to beat the best too, right? I think in years past we might have gotten some easier draws and we struggled and may have dropped out to the Europa League. But I was obviously hoping for a better draw, maybe kind of avoid some of these sharks, at least the sharks in between pot one and pot two, because pot two, if you looked at it, had more stronger teams, I felt, than pot one did. But it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult looking at this. Even that Dynamo Kiev match going over to play in Ukraine is never easy. So it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. I don't know if before last week's podcast, you had said that Benfica needs to put up a better showing than 7 points. Looking at this, I don't even know if we get to 7 points just based on how this draw has gone.
Yeah, no, for me, the way I look at it is I like the fact that we're going to Kiev early on. Weather's not going to be as bad, even though these days there's warm pitches, so on and so forth. But Bayern is Bayern. I think Bayern is probably top three in the world in terms of clubs. Barcelona, I think there's going to be a lot of questions in terms of what Barcelona is going to be like this season, right? And the obvious thing is no Messi, right? So how does a team like that, after Messi being the focal point of that team for so many years, after basically every coach that comes in sets up a team to play around Messi, no longer there. Antoine Griezmann, we found out today before the window closed that he went back to Madrid. So where does that leave this Barcelona? Is this a transition year for Barcelona? Is this a year that there's not a lot of expectations because of the turnover and because of a start over? So in terms of that, I think that I feel somewhat positive with the match against Barcelona, and maybe that's the 1 point or the 3 points that will get at Stade de Luche. I don't know. I don't think we could beat Barcelona at the Camp Nou. I think that Bayern is going to be extremely difficult, and I think that Dynamo Kiev, if Benfica does the job they're supposed to do, and in theory we're stronger than Dynamo Kiev, I think that even like the worth of our team is double what Dynamo Kiev's is, according to Transfer Market. But that second place could be between us and Barcelona, and understanding what situation Barcelona is going to be in. I don't know. I think that that we may have a chance here.
I'll give it to you that it's definitely not the Barcelona of years past, right? We're not going to see Messi, Neymar, Xavi, Iniesta in there, but I mean, if there's ever a time to go play them and not be afraid of them, I hope JJ kind of instills that killer instinct, because that's something that's been missing these last couple of European competitions, where we start the young guys, we put on a showcase to sell some of these younger guys. So, like I said, if there's ever a time to beat them, it's definitely a weakened squad. And I just got to hope that JJ finds that killer instinct for this team here.
Yeah, so just looking at the fixtures, as I mentioned, we do go to Kiev match day 1. Then we have Barcelona at home. We go to Bayern Munich, or no, we get Barcelona at home, and then Bayern Munich at home. On the flip, we go to Bayern Munich in November. Then Barcelona, so you have 2 away trips there, and then Dinamo Kiev visits us at Stade Luge to close that out. So the fact that we're playing Dinamo Kiev as match day 6 when things are still maybe up for grabs and we have a chance to get those all too important 3 points in the last match day, I think the way these fixtures lined up are is a positive for us. I don't like that we're playing Bayern back to back, but you
got to play them sometime, right?
You got to play them sometime. But I would have rather play. But if it's not Bayern, then you're playing Barca back to back. It could have been that. But I like the fact that we open up against Dinamo Kiev. So if we do our work well, we could come out with the 3 points and start the group on a positive note, while Bayern and Barcelona duke it out, with most likely Bayern getting the all too important 3 points to start the group. And then we gotta go to Barcelona and play them. But I like the fact that we're finishing at home against Dinamo Kiev, which could be very important 3 points that we may need at the end of the group stage. Dave, from 1 to 10, what kind of what are you feeling in terms of what chances we'll have to get past this group stage
to finish in a top 2 position? I think I'll go with a 4. I'm still not feeling confident, but prove me wrong. I've been wrong in many times, but I'll go with a 4.
Yeah, what's everybody feeling in a group in a chat about Benfica's chances to make it to the group stage? Let us know. We'll shout you out. But yeah, it will be an interesting group stage. I don't think that Porto got a much easier group than us.
Yeah.
Sporting, I think it's being in pot 1. I think it helped them out, but I think that Porto for once have a much worse group than us. Bruno Singer says 4 out of 10. I think I'm gonna be optimistic too, Bruno. I'm gonna say a 6 out of 10, considering that we don't really know what we're gonna get from Barcelona. And look, you never know. The guys at Barcelona, and somebody mentioned that Depay is still there, but we don't know, because a lot of these guys at Barcelona may have a chip on their shoulder, meaning Barcelona is not only Messi, we're here too. So we're going to be out to prove our worth. So that could be something also from them. But I think that a Barcelona without Messi is a restart, and I'm not really sure. Davey says 50-50. Oscar Taquara Cardozo 4 out of 10. Cesar Silva thinks if we get the win at Ukraine and the win in Lisbon against Barca, I'll give it a 7. So I mean, yeah, that's extremely that's optimistic. Look, I think that we could get points against Barcelona at Stade Luge. We haven't lost a European game at Stade Luge in a very long time, or we have lost very few games in European competition at Stade Luge. So I don't know. I think that we could squeeze out some points at Stade Luge against Barcelona, and I think that's going to be the key for what we do in the group stages.
Yeah, and you had already given out the shout out about playing in the Ukraine in September compared to playing in December. Just looking at some Kiev weather right now in Celsius, it's 19 degrees there in September, and then you go into December and you're looking into the negative Celsius. So much better to be going to Ukraine in September than that December fixture.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, if we don't qualify for the group stages, I think that I don't think fans are going to be too upset, but I think it's going to depend on our showing, because if we're going to go to the group stages, rotating players, putting young players on a shop window, as Lage and Rui Vitória did, that's going to be a joke. And I don't think JJ is going to have that approach. But I think if we have a good showing and if we compete, I think that we have that we have a good chance. And if we don't make it, if we get relegated to the Europa League, I don't think too many people are going to be unhappy about that. And I think the Europa League is, with the squad that we have, we probably have a good chance of going deep into the Europa League. Not a lot of sharks in the Europa League this year, from what I've been able to see from the initial group drawings. But then you never know who's going to be dropped down from the Champions League. So, but I agree. Bruno says JJ is no Lage. No, if you recall, when JJ was with Sporting, and that he had, I believe it was Real Madrid in one of their group stages. He did very well against Real Madrid. I don't think that they beat them, but I do think that there was a very good, it was a tight game. And, JJ lives for those games, with the exception when he's making shit up.
In the finals? In the actual finals?
In the actual finals. So we'll see. But I think that it's good that Benfica is going to be playing competitive Champions League ball, and I hope for a good showing. Good matches at Stade de Luz should have people excited about going to Stade de Luz and watching these premier teams. Dave, winter transfer window closed out today. Want to run us through the transfer window?
Yes, we did not get Cristiano Ronaldo. He went to Manchester United. He did not come to Benfica. But to recap today's Benfica news, a lot of players going out here. We'll start off with Tomas Tavares went to FC Basel on a 1-year loan with the option of a €5 million euro purchase for 50% of his pass at the end of the year. Florentino loaned to Getafe, 1-year loan with the option to buy for €10 million. Vinicius, 2-year loan to PSV, and I believe we saw that there's a €12.5 million price tag for 50% of his pass at the end of that loan. Samaris has rescinded his contract with the club. Chiquinho on loan to Braga for the year, and Jota also on loan for the year at Celtic, with a €7.5 million option at the end of it.
Yeah. I think overall not a bad transfer window for us. As I'm looking at this transfer window, I think the most important thing is that we really didn't lose anybody in terms of the nucleus of this team. Waldschmidt is gone, obviously, but Waldschmidt was a bit of a rotation fringe player, if you will. I thought that Samaris thing was going to turn ugly. He finally decided both parties agreed to rescind his contract. I would have liked Gabriel to have gone. Also, there was a lot of excess in this team that needed to go. I thought that Chiquinho loan to Braga was good. Jota loan to Celtic was good. The fact that we brought in Lázaro as our fourth right back option, we'll see how that works out. I'm happy. Radonjic, which we signed on a loan last week. I hope that he could bring good things also. Overall, I thought it was a good transfer window because Benfica didn't really lose any key players. I mean, if you recall last season, we lost Ruben Dias because we didn't make the Champions League. So it was good that we didn't lose any key players, and we were able to add a couple pieces that I'm still kind of, I don't know. Oscar also says that he doesn't have a good feeling about Lázaro. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about Lázaro. Here's the thing. It depends on what the expectations you have for Lázaro, right? Now, when you compare Lázaro to the three guys that are playing right back right now, where do you place Lázaro? Is Lázaro number one, or is Lázaro just another one of those three? And What do you guys think about that? I mean, I don't know much about Lazaro, but the things that I've heard is that he's a good player. But it all depends on how he's going to fit, how he's going to set up.
Well, what I've heard from my Italian family, especially cousin that's Inter supporter, he said that he brings a lot going forward, but can be a liability defensively. To which I responded, "Oh shit, another Grimaldo on our hands here on the right side." But was never really given a chance at Inter. I know I went to Gladbach, I believe, last season and got some run there, but has never really gotten any starting minutes at Inter.
Yeah. But so we'll see. I think at this point, anyone is better than Andre Almeida. And shit, I hate to beat on Gilberto, but I think that if you're going to play Champions League ball, you're going to need somebody with quality. And I think that Gilberto might be good against the Tondellas of the world, but I don't know if he's going to be good about in Champions League. Bruno Singer is asking thoughts on David Luiz transfer rumors. Look, Chris is a huge fan, and Chris is not here today, obviously, but Chris is a huge fan of David Luiz, and he would take him in a heartbeat. My thought on David Luiz is that for me now, and despite of all the Benfica roots and the Benfiquism that he may have, and I think that for David Luiz to come in and be fourth choice for center back, because I don't think David Luiz beats out Verissimo, he doesn't beat out Vertonghen, he doesn't beat out Otamendi. For a fourth center back with a high salary, I think it just doesn't bode well with me. That's what I think for me. Dave, what do you think about David Luiz?
I mean, before we get into my thoughts, he still could technically sign, right? Because he's a free agent. Yes. Yeah, okay. So he still could sign up, but yeah, I don't know if I'd put him at the same level as Vertonghen. Maybe I definitely wouldn't put him over Otamendi and Verissimo. But then you even see a guy like Muratu, who's been shining when he's been given the opportunity, right? So it really takes away from the younger players that could have that some playing time. You see Muratu, Ferru end up staying with the club, right? So that if you bring in David Luiz, it takes away less minutes from Ferru. So for the nostalgic end of it, I'd love to see him back, but from the development standpoint, I just don't think it makes sense at this time. And I know he's one that's always said he wanted to come back, but looking at where he is in his career and how the club is, I just don't think that it'll ever happen at this point.
Yeah, no, look, I don't think he's going to come to Benfica for peanuts, that's for sure. And then to be making, let's say he's going to be one of top 5, maybe top 7. I would say top 5 of guys that are going to earn at Benfica. To be a fourth choice of center back, it doesn't make sense. And then as you mentioned, Muratu and Davy Henno also said Muratu has shown great improvement, and I agree. It would just be a guy to block the development of Muratu, and I don't know how I feel about that. Another question here, Chico Marcelino, how about Andre Gomes? Chico, I actually thought that he was going to come, man. And I thought that he was going to be a good choice because obviously JJ has worked with him, he knows him. We know what Andre Gomes could bring to the team, and he's a guy that he's not only a consummate professional, but he's a guy that also knows his role. So if he comes to Benfica and he understands that João Mario is playing better than him, and he's going to get time here and there, he's not a guy that's going to rock the boat in terms of demanding playing time or having a hissy fit because he's not getting playing time. I think Andre Gomes would be happy at Benfica. I thought that he could be a very helpful player and piece to Benfica. But right now, being that he's still tied into Everton, unless he rescinded with Everton and then signed with Benfica in that way, I don't think he's coming. But I would love to add him because I think that both him and João Mario bring a quality to that 8 position in which they could pretty much dictate the pace of the game as the playing goes on. And I think that there was something that Benfica lacked a lot last year when we had Tarap, that every time Tarap gets the ball, he only has eyes to go forward, while João Mario sees what's going on and dictates the pace of the game. And I think that André Gomes could be that guy. And I'll be a lot more comfortable with André Gomes being the guy that plays instead of João Mario than Tarapt or Pizzi, for that matter. So I would take him. I would take him in a heartbeat. What about you, Dave?
I would take him, but I don't think it's going to be likely at this point, right? Like you said, unless him and Everton decide to rescind the contract, it can't happen now until the January transfer window. But just going back on the David Luiz thing, now I got myself second guessing myself here. We're the 3 center back pairing that JJ's playing. We're kind of one injury away from being really exposed in terms of depth or in there, don't you think? I mean, yeah, I know we got, if we're going with the 3 main guys, Vertonghen, Verismu, and Otamendi right now with Moratu coming in. I know we kept Ferru on, but I think we're still kind of one injury away from really being exposed unless we switch the formation to a 4-4-2 when that, if an injury does come into play there.
Yeah, look, I think that's always a possibility, right? I mean, stranger things have happened, but you're right. I think that when JJ hasn't had the 3 center backs available to him, he's played 4-4-2. If you recall, the whole preseason he played in a 4-4-2 because Otamendi was away at the Copa America. So that it's an alternative system that he could play in if the 3 center backs are not available. But you're right; it's always a risk that you take, and especially with an extremely long season, it's hard. But I think that the fact that we kept Ferro, even though that I don't think JJ counts on Ferro, is another option for us. I think that Ferro will play a lot in the B team. But I'm encouraged with the fact that we have Ferro. Bruno's also asking, do you see Everton improve this season? Everton has been a little bit of a curious case this season, because at the last season we really thought that he had turned a corner in terms of getting adapted to a new country, getting adapted to European football, which is very different from Brazilian and South American football. And we were all very encouraged by the Everton that could feature for Benfica this season. Went to the Copa America, came back from the Copa America, didn't have a full preseason with his team, joined the team, has not done all that well. But I think that there's something about Everton that I noticed, right? He's a guy that he doesn't turn away from the fight. He's constantly trying to get into the play. Is not a guy that disappears through long periods of the game. And I think that he's perhaps a couple good games away from turning it around and from gaining his confidence and from being that guy that we held out so much hope for when we first signed him from Grêmio in Brazil. So I think that I'm hoping and I'm pulling for him that he's able to turn the corner. But I think his motivation and his drive and the fact that he doesn't turn away get him just that much closer to a turnaround point. But as of right now, he's been disappointing for me. And Davey said, too many excuses for Everton. So you guys have a soft spot for him. Gilberto gets hammered on the weekly. I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I just think that, I don't know. We've seen very good things from Everton, both at a national team level as well as towards the end of last season. So I'm always hoping, and he's the type of guy that if he gets his confidence and he gets his mojo, I think he'll be right there. So Oscar says that I think Radonjic can be important for big matches like Barca because of his pace. So we will have two fast players, Rafa and him. Yeah, well, look, I haven't seen Radonjic touch the ball. Chico Marcelino here, free agents right now. Boateng, David Luiz, Maximov, Ribéry, Ben Arfa, Mangala, Mustafi, Giovinco, Stewart. Stewart, should we take someone? I don't know about Boateng. Boateng always comes with baggage. I think David Luiz, we've already spoke. Ribéry is too old.
I think Boateng actually just signed recently in the last hour. To Lyon. To Lyon.
Yeah, that's what Oscar's saying, that he signed up to Lyon. Ribéry is old. Ben Arfa is not that consistent guy. Mangala, no, thank you. I don't know. Giovinco could be interesting, but I think
we can't afford his salary.
Yeah,
he went from Toronto to Saudi Arabia to just collect his paychecks, but he's not coming to Portugal.
Yeah, if anything, he's going to end up at the MLS again. I'm sure he has market there. Yeah,
would be nice, but I don't know if he'd go back to Toronto. The club's in shambles now too, but.
So anyway, let's start wrapping this up by looking at the fixtures that we got coming up this September, and a much less busy month for September than we had in August, only with 5 games, 2 of them being for the Champions League and 3 of them being domestically. So Benfica will get back into competition on 9/11 September 11th against Santa Clara in the Azores Island. And from what I understand from what JJ said in his presser, that I think Otamendi and some of the player will be flying into the Azores that morning from international duty. So crazy.
So what's going on with that? Because I see Sporting holding players because they're not going to clear the quarantine time enough. But so then how does that allow Benfica to let Otamendi and Verissimo go?
So I think the difference with that may be the fact that they're already vaccinated.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about. Well, the biggest thing was with the young kid that Brazil was trying to wrap up for him to belong to Brazil now, but apparently he's going to play for Portugal, from what I understand. But Coates said he was injured, so he didn't go. But if you remember, Sporting has a huge game against Porto when we retake back the domestic competition. So maybe that's a move by Sporting to make sure that they have all their players. I know that that other dude, what's his name? Pot
from Sporting, yeah. He went down with an injury too.
He withdrew from national team because of an injury. I don't know how there's truth to that or not, but certainly he would be looked at by the FPF's medical team, or by national team's medical team, and they would deem him whether he could play or not. But as I mentioned, at Santa Clara on 11th, on the 14th at Dinamo Kiev. On 9/19, Estádio Luz against Boa Vista. On 9/26, we'll travel to Guimarães to play Vitória. And then to close out the month in Barcelona. Barcelona at Estádio Luz. So a good month of September coming up, Dave. Not as busy, but certainly an interesting one. I think Santa Clara is always interesting, even though that Santa Clara has been focused on their European success and haven't been doing all that great domestically. But Santa Clara is always an interesting game, and a trip up to Guimarães, where it's always difficult for Benfica, is also extremely difficult. And then you throw in the two Champions League fixtures in there. So it's going to be an interesting month for Benfica.
Yeah, when is the League Cup? when does that take place? Like, I know that they haven't even done the group draws yet, so that's probably why. But I'm sure that starts up in September, or maybe they're pushing it out to November because it's slowly looking like it's going to be another congested fixture list going on here with the different tournaments and that we're playing in here.
Yeah, they haven't announced it yet. Maybe they will do something similar to what they did last year, which they didn't play the group stages. If I don't recall.
Yeah, so they only did the top.
Thing.
They only did the top 4 last year, but they've already had some games like first round and second round with the smaller clubs here. So it looks like they're. I'm just reading into it. It looks like they're just all they need to do is just do the group draws and then I guess release those dates. But that's gonna come at us if not in September, definitely in October, November as well.
Yeah. The other thing that I saw it in the chat earlier, and we were already past that topic, but somebody had said that, let me see if I can find it here, that if Benfica, okay, here it is. Bruno said, third place is a playoff place to qualify for the round of 16th of Europa League. I'm unaware that. I thought there was a straight entrance into the Europa League. I didn't know that there was a playoff place.
Well, no, so before it was, if you got third place, you jump into the round of 32, if I'm not mistaken, of the Europa League. But now with this conference league, I am pretty sure I saw that the third place teams from the Champions League will move. They'll get a bye to the round of 16, and they skip the round of 32 of the Europa League, if I'm not mistaken.
That's interesting. I guess it kind of makes sense because of the condensed schedule, because of the World Cup, right? World Cup qualifying and the World Cup coming up in next year. That makes sense. So, but yeah, Davey says that I have the voice of a soothing angel. I don't know about that, but yeah, we miss Cristiano. When Cristiano's yelling, he keeps us on our toes. So thanks. Yeah, thanks a lot for everybody. And Bruno is clarifying because of the conference league. Yeah, that makes sense.
Something that we'll just need to get used to this year. New tournament, new money grab from UEFA here. I mean, what do you mean? UEFA doesn't make money on these tournaments. It all goes to the clubs. Come on.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks for keeping us company, you guys in the chat, and thanks for everyone that is going to listen to this a little later. Also, yeah, we'll be taking a week off next week. National team is on. If it's something that you're into, go and watch it. Me personally, after these latest events with the national team and the coach that we have. For the national team, it's not something that I look forward to watching. So maybe I'll go watch cricket or something.
Are the darts on? Is there a good darts tournament?
Yeah. On? What about that?
The special one.
The stuff. Yeah, the special one. What about that stuff that they throw that in the ice and they have the
curling?
No,
that doesn't start until December, January.
I'll watch it. Well, the NFL is coming back, so I'll watch that. I'll watch the NFL. Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for checking this out. Cristiano will be back next time that we come on, so you guys could hear all his rants. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Enjoy yourselves. Be good to one another, and be safe out there. Take care. Later.
Ciao.